We continue part 3, EPF. Now we talk about the offenses and penalties related to any wrongdoing by employees or employer in EPF. Right, so we have few here. The first one, if the employer failed to register with board within 7 days from the date he becomes liable to contribute, then imprisonment not exceeding 3 years and also 10,000 ringgit or both. Yeah. Second one, if the employer failed to notify the board within 30 days from the date ceases liability to contribute, meaning to say that late of contribution. Yeah. So again, the responsibility of the employer need to pay the contribution of the employees and the employees contribution to EPF every month. So the late of contribution paying for the contribution, so this is the penalty liable for the employer. Yeah, imprisonment not exceeding 6 months or not exceeding fine 2,000 ringgit or both. Yeah, and then the next one, employer fails to furnish the statement of wages, so you need to furnish the statement of wages to EPF so that EPF can see the record of contribution or deduction of salary for EPF contribution. Yeah? Employer failed to contribute to EPF board on behalf of each of his employee, contribution shall be remade within the 15 days of the month. So this is another issue. Yeah, and then employer deduct, okay, or attempt to deduct from the wages or remuneration of any employee the whole or any part of the employee's share of contribution. This one is very serious, meaning to say that, because again you have to understand that the contribution is actually from the employers and employees contribution. Contribution from employees is from the employee salary, and contribution from employers is from the employers revenue or from the employees pocket money. Yeah, so you cannot actually lump or what you call add up the amount of employees and employees contribution together and then you deduct from the employee salary. So that's what it means here in section 47 subsection 1. Any employer who deducts the employee share of contribution from the wages of an employee and fails to pay the total sum deducted or any part sum to EPF. So according to the record, the employer make a deduction from the employee's contribution every month, but to EPF there's no such deduction. So this is another serious offense for the employer. Any person who makes oral or in writing or sign any declaration, written certificate or document which is untrue or incorrect. This one usually refer to the employees. For example, like you falsify the document for the withdrawal scheme. For example, like to withdraw your money for housing, example, and then for health and etc. This is the what we call a penalty related to the EPF members. Next, trends and issues related to EPF. The first one, again, limited coverage to working population. Again, we always have to relate with the coverage issue in Social Security. EPF is only covered for the formal sector workers. Those who are in formal sector workers, they are not covered under EPF, except if they are voluntarily would like to contribute to EPF, but there is no such what we call a mandatory instruction from the government to make sure that everybody in the society need to contribute to EPF, because it depends on the ability of the individual to pay for the contribution. When that thing happen, this definitely will what we call affect the coverage of Social Security, because the informal sector left unattended. Yeah, so what will happen to them when they get old, when they're retired, if they're sick, for example, in terms of if they want to purchase the house and to pursue their education in tertiary education, or to their family members and many more. Second one, the relevancy of early withdrawal scheme. Again, if you notice, since the establishment of EPF, there are few initiative of withdrawal scheme introduced by EPF. So previously, for example, like in 2000, when the government what we call implement the policy about one house, one computer, something like that, to increase the computer or IT literacy among people. So on that particular time, the government introduce and collaborate with EPF so that the EPF members can withdraw their EPF savings saving under account to purchase the computer, and that actually lots of fraud issues happen on that particular time. And then there was also a proposal made by a few people or parties actually regarding on a withdrawal scheme, for example, like to provide a withdrawal scheme to purchase transportation, to pay for a PTPT and loan, and many more. But again, we have to always remind ourselves and understand that the role of EPF is to make sure that you have saving income upon retirement. So this is very important, so that it will not actually defeat the objective of EPF itself. Yeah, issues of ISRAN, which is previously known as One Malaysia Retirement Scheme for the informal sector. So it is very important to highlight about this issue, to look at the trend and issues nowadays, okay, about the take up, how many actually members, or how many people actually join this program accordingly. Because sometimes again we talk about the awareness about social security, the awareness of and the understanding of people about the importance of EPF to save your money, so that your money will be invested. Once you put your money in EPF, they will invest your money, and you can only withdraw your money when you reach certain age, for example. Yeah, so this is a thing that we need to educate people about it. Dividend rate of EPF, there are lots of issues about this, yeah, because in many years, every year when EPF announced the dividend rate to be shared with the EPF members, there will be many sometimes comment, yeah, critics, especially from MTUC. Yeah, because they always believe that EPF should share higher dividend as what EPF have shared back in 1980s, for example. Yeah, because the higher the dividend, the better money or what we call saving accumulate in EPF members' account later on when they're retired. But again, we have to understand many things. Number one, for example, the capability of EPF or that particular year to accumulate investment of what we call profit, yeah, and many more. And in the same time, we have to also understand that this money invested by EPF is actually used by EPF for and to provide better benefits, and to provide better program for EPF members. So that's the reason why they always introduce new things and a new system, for example, to operate new in terms of the administrative part, for example, like to operate new branches, yeah, in many ways. Yeah, now if I think you have also noticed that there are certain for example, like a kiosk, okay, machines, yeah, self-help machines, so EPF member can deal and then manage the account accordingly. Yeah, so the management of retirement withdrawal upon retirement, so this is the issue. I think we have discussed about this many times before, that most of more than 50% of EPF members, upon retirement, when they reach age of 55 years old, they exhaust or they finish their money within 5 to 10 years. And then that's number one. And number two, we also talk about there are so many EPF members, more than 50% actually, when they retire, they only have about 50,000 ringgit in their account, and that is not enough when you compare to the life expectancy in Malaysia, which is 75-year old roughly. Yeah? So this is the issue, yeah, that we have to really look into. The next one is viability of EPF investment in government security. This is very important as well. When we talk about how EPF invests in government security, this issue has been politicized by many people, yeah, become a political issue in many ways. So we have to look into this matter as well. But again, you have to understand one thing, that the government can use EPF, what we call investment, yeah, to generate income and etc. Okay, the failure of employees to pay contribution is very important as well, because again we talk about the employer actually non-compliance, issue of non-compliance, yeah. And then number one, and number two, sometimes employer feel like this is not necessary to to deduct the to register their employees with EPF. Definitely, because when you register your employees in EPF, so you have to make a contribution from the employee's perspective as well. So that will definitely what we call reduce the overhead. It will increase the overhead cost for the employees. Yeah. So again, but again, this will jeopardize the right of employees. And full withdrawal age 55 or 60 is a good thing to debate. Yeah. I think last 2 years they talk about this a lot. Yeah? So because of retirement age increase to 60-year-old, especially for the government workers, so EPF proposed to increase retirement age from increase the the age for full withdrawal scheme instead of 55-year-old to 60-year-old. But then there are so many critics from the people, and then so that's the reason why EPF creatively modified the idea into account emas and account after 60-year-old, so that when you reach age of 55-year-old you can go for full withdrawal scheme. But then in the same time, okay, if you continue working, then your account your EPF will turn into account 55. And if you're still working, for example, like as a contract basis, or you get another job, yeah, after 60-year-old, then the account will call as account emas. Yeah. Next is digitalization process. This is more about process. So it is very interesting to learn about EPF has come with many efforts in what we call digitalizing the process. So these are the examples. Age of 60-year-old. Yeah. Do you think we have enough saving? We talked about it just now. Yeah. So you can read this infographic, which is very interesting as well. Yeah. And then kada dividends, you can see this one. But one thing that maybe you can highlight is about now we have the simpanan syariah and the simpanan conventional. Yeah. So EPF dividends rates over the years. Yeah. And then the EPF withdrawals. Okay. So we can see that education withdrawal is quite popular. Yeah. That's it, and now we move to the tutorial. Yeah, so maybe we can discuss during our lecture and our tutorial. So what do you think the implication of any kind of regulations amendment in EPF to the contributors, government, economy and others? For example, the change of contribution of EPF, number one. So how it affect the contributors, government, economy and others. The change of the EPF scheme, for example, okay, the withdrawal scheme, if EPF introduce new withdrawal scheme, for example. Yeah. So what do you think, how it can affect to the contributors, government, economy and others? And also discuss about any other trends and issues related to EPF, maybe something that you can relate to this pandemic, COVID-19 and many more. Yeah. So it's also involved in terms of scheme, practice, dividend rate, credibility, enforcement and many more. That's all for chapter 5b EPF. So we'll see you again for the next chapter, inshallah. Bye.